What's going on, my broskiis? My name is TheLordShiro, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And of course, we're with a brand new month. We have a brand new tier list for the month of May. And as we know, the 11th of May, 12th of May, depending on where you are in the world, is the official 10th anniversary Sugo Fest. Inevitably going to release a bunch of new Sugo Fest exclusives, Super Sugo Fest exclusives, anniversary exclusive characters. And it's going to shift this tier list completely. So when the new characters come out, so next month's tier list, I am going to flood the whole list, get rid of everything, and then we'll start from scratch, as it's a big release banner. We're going to start from new and, put all these characters on fresh. So I'm not going to do too much in this month's tier list in terms of changing characters' positions beforehand, because, as I said, we're going to be shifting everything starting from next tier list, which I think is a really good idea. Every so often we do this, just to ensure that we keep things a bit more fresh, and we can correctly evaluate each of these units with a fresh canvas, you know what I mean? Before we actually jump into this tier list though, let's talk about my criteria for talking about each of these units and how they rank against each other. So first of which is the power of the unit, so how much damage are they able to output, how fast are they at clearing content, and how reliable are they at clearing that content, and is there content out there that this unit literally can't beat due to the design of the character? There are characters that are like this, which make things a bit more annoying. And then how usable and versatile is this unit? So obviously, how much content can this character be used for, and can you even use this character on teams where the character just isn't even boosted, but because of the immense power and the immense usability of that character, just counters a lot of things in content. Like for example, like the one that comes to mind straight away is this Robin Jinbei. Like this Robin Jinbei at face value, if you just read it like in a vacuum, the character's like, it's fine, it's got some cool things going on. But considering the amount of content in the game that you need to remove like Attack Down, Rainbow Shield, and Threshold for, and the fact that they get rid of all three of them by 6 turns, and they also give you a base attack boost, and they have a switch effect to generate matching slots, and they get access to amazing support effects. Like Robin Jinbei is one of the most underrated legends in the game, and it goes to show once again with the recent Pirate King Adventures season, like Robin Jinbei are perfect for that final stage boss fight. So good. But I digress. Let's start talking about some of these new units. As I said, I'm not going to do too much in terms of shuffling characters around. Usually we like to do that before we add new characters to the list. But as I said, we're going to flush things out starting next month, so it's not as important that we do that in this month's tier list. So the characters we've got access to this month that are brand new to this list, we've got S-Shark, which we'll talk about in just a moment. We've also got the 2 new Vegapunks in Atlas and Vegapunk himself. And then we've got the 6+ for Jewelry Bonney. And then the 2 dual units of Lord Bepo in their female forms, as well as Kid and Killer, which a lot of people were not expecting Kid and Killer to debut as a character, like, at this point in time. It was just a weird release. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes of this and how they kind of interact potentially with the 10th anniversary release. We'll see. But let's start off with S-Shark. Now, S-Shark, being a Rumble unit, you can't really expect too much from this character, but very similar to S-Hawk, has a very interesting special that I think could potentially see a lot of play. It's a damage dealing special, which is good. It does, you reduce your crew's HP by 20% and then does damage to the opponent, but then removing Threshold and Rainbow Shield by 6 turns. Like, that's actually pretty good. And then a Dex Fighter Shooter 1500 base attack boost for 3 turns. Like, this is a pretty good special, actually. The other effect here is that if you have a Jinbei or a Senor Pink that has launched the special before you use this special, you also remove Barrier and Nullification by 2 turns. That's also really good, but it's a bit niche in terms of requiring Jinbei or Senor Pink to be launching a special during the same turn. So I don't know if that's really going to see a lot of play, but by itself, it has a pretty okay set of skills. Mainly just has some pretty cool utility stuff, so I think mainly due to that, it's probably going to be a relatively lower tier character. I mean, I have S-Hawk all the way up here. I don't think these characters are similar. Like, S-Hawk removing Paralysis and Special Bind, I think is a little bit more valuable, and the fact that he's int driven is kind of nice too. This character being Dex Fighter Shooter, it's a bit of a weird class and type combo, so due to that, I don't think it's going to see a lot of play because of its synergy of type and class. So it's probably just going to be in the lower tier, but it's a pretty solid legend, to be fair. I think it's pretty good. So we'll leave it up here in near the top of tier 5, but I mean, you could put it in any of these bottom 3 tiers. I think he's pretty solid just due to that alone. So the next one on the list is going to be Atlas, which debuted during the Treasure Map Sugo Fest. Atlas is pretty cool, and this is another Vegapunk legend, so we kind of had a fair idea about what we could be expecting heading into this one. This character is interesting in the fact that it makes strength slots beneficial, and with the super type or super class, you can get those strength slots. And this character removes 10 turns of attack down as a captain, so that's also really neat. You had Lilith a little bit beforehand, who was kind of like a speed farm captain, and this one has the utility part of a captain. Removing 10 turns of attack down is actually very, very good. And anytime you use a special that gives you an orb boost, you automatically just buff the multiplier by 0.25, and it doesn't actually count as like a plus buff. This is just a innate ability that will always activate, meaning if this unit's your captain, use an orb boost from one of your crewmates. If it's a 2x orb boost, it just becomes 2.25 without a plus on it. So you can like use another special to buff that multiplier, which is pretty cool. The super special, you get the strength slots, and then also you get the orb boost for int and cerebral characters, 2.75 or 2.5 for each of them individually. And then you got the really cool special, which says that if you have a cerebral captain and you have an orb boost, you can decrease the multiplier of that orb boost by 1.0, but then you become a stackable orb boost, so you can actually launch 2 separate orb boosts. And this is very similar to Lilith, where Lilith allows you to do this exact same effect, but with attack boosts instead. It also removes percent damage reduction and orb-based damage reduction by 6 turns. This is the first character that does this specifically. So if an enemy says they take less damage from like Strength Dex, Quick Sight, Int slots, this removes 6 turns of that, which is cool. We haven't had a character that's been able to do that before. And then makes their own normal attacks bypass enemy defensive effects for 1 turn. And then also provides an attack boost. So it's just like an inverse kind of effect of what Lilith does. So I guess wherever Lilith goes, this is pretty similar. The only real issue with this character is that it's not a speed farm captain, so you can't really use it in that same vein. But the thing about Lilith specifically that I like better is Lilith's final tap is far superior. You know, Atlas does have a final tap, but the final tap isn't really that great. It just provides a base attack boost, if I remember correctly. Oh, it's a chain multiply boost, that's what it is. So it's very similar to like Uta's final tap. So this is not awful, but if you're just talking about raw damage, Lilith does have a much higher ceiling than what Atlas has. But as I said, Atlas has a utility captain, which is really valuable to have. But of course, these characters just have really good synergy with the original Vegapunk himself, which also debuted this month during the Kizuna Clash Sugo Fest, which I guess we could talk about right now. So with Vegapunk debuting, we were expecting some really interesting stuff, and we kind of got some pretty neat stuff by this guy. So he gives -2 cooldown at the start of the fight, so he's also providing kind of like a speed farmy kind of thing. Tandem and bomb slots and super bomb, which is kind of weird. We weren't really expecting that to be the case. But then you need to have a full team of cerebral characters and matching slots to get a 5.75 times attack boost. Otherwise, you just get the 5.25 to cerebral. So it's a bit of a weird one. He's just mono cerebral. So I guess it makes sense due to the character and who he is. But then you get this amazing utility captain of removing 10 turns of paralysis and bind. So you could partner this with Atlas to remove 10 turns of paralysis, bind, and attack down. So that's really neat. But you could also partner this with some other good cerebral characters, like, you know, potentially like Uta to remove special reverse as well. Uta already removes paralysis, but being able to resist that is pretty cool. You could also use like Halloween Lore and Corazon, which removes despair, so you can remove despair, bind, and paralysis by 10 turns. And that's a pretty cool effect that you could go ahead and abuse. And then you've got the super type effect, which allows you to get a permanent HP boost, and then you get an overfill of 30%. So this is a very similar effect to Halloween Koala's super type. And then your attack and orb boost get a 0.25 increase. It's not the best super type ever, but it's okay. The condition is pretty easy to fulfill. And then the special is just incredibly unique. Removing 10 turns of special bind, also resisting it, is very cool. Unfortunately, this character as a captain does not resist special bind, so if you are inflicted with like a full crew special bind, it's not really going to help you that much, which I think that's one thing that I really hate. I wish that at least his super type should have removed special bind on himself completely. I think that would have been a really neat effect. He gives himself a guaranteed tandem slot, which is cool, and then you can select any 2 of the following buffs, and it bypasses enemy special interrupts. So whatever one you select, it can't trigger an interrupt from the enemy, which I think is really unique. So depending on what situation, you could just get whatever you want, or you could build your certain team in a way, and then your Vegapunk can fulfill the role of vastly different characters. You know, he just kind of like fixes your team up. If you don't have an attack boost, he can give you one. If you need chain boost, base attack boost, you can get a conditional boost. It's pretty cool stuff. But he then further gives you this weird effect. Now, at the moment, we don't know how good this effect is going to be. We can assume that there's going to be an int powerhouse character in the anniversary where this effect will actually take place and be a very useful component. At the moment, it seems a bit obtuse, a bit weird, but yeah, being able to do that is cool. And then if it's the captain, you get the resistance down. And then, of course, having Super Tandem is pretty cool. The Super Tandem isn't the best Super Tandem in the game. 2 times attack to Cerebral, and then you get a final tap boost of whoever's the final tap unit by 1000. So this works really well with Atlas, not so much with Lilith specifically. But yeah, that's the breakdown of Vegapunk. He's going to be an interesting one, but the thing is, the fact that you could just pick whatever buffs you want, as well as removing Special Bind, he's going to be an incredible crewmate for your squad. I think he has uses as a captain, but I think he's probably going to be best used as a sub to remove Special Bind. That's really cool that he can do that by such a big margin, and then also just being able to fix your squad to do whatever buffs that you require to get through the content. I think that's really cool. I think he's just a super unique character. I think, is he as good as these other Vegapunk characters? I don't know. I actually really still like Lilith. I think she's probably my favorite of these 3 Vegapunk legends. I'd put the actual Vegapunk as number 2, and then we have this Atlas Vegapunk as number 3. And that's just my favorites, my personal favorites. I don't own Atlas at the moment, so it's hard for me to actually gauge whether or not I actually like this character. But I think that the Vegapunk characters are really cool, and they have a lot of potential. It is a shame that Shaka didn't get a release as a Sugofest exclusive, because he kind of deserves it, honestly. But I think it's a pretty unique kind of team setup they got planned at the moment. So the next one is Bonney with her super evolution. I think this is actually a really cool super evolution. I made a showcase with this character as well, testing her out in a couple of pieces of content, and this is kind of similar to what I kind of thought with Vegapunk, where like Vegapunk's got a pretty good captain, but because of the way he's kind of built, I feel like Bonney is going to be better as a sub compared to a captain. And like Vegapunk, you can use him as both. You can use him as a captain, you can use him as a sub. He's probably going to be good in a lot of different ways. But for Bonney, I think she's purely going to be better as a crewmate, because her captain ability, even like at max potential here, you get int and cerebral attack boost, and then it also says that you get a bigger boost if you get recovery slots. You still get a boost otherwise. Makes recovery matching, and then if you attack with type advantage, you get a guaranteed recovery slot at the end of the turn. So that's cool. Like, generating recovery slots is really nice, but it doesn't provide any utility. It doesn't even give you a health boost, no damage reduction. Like, yes, it does give you recovery slots, which you can heal with, but it just doesn't do enough as a captain, which is a real problem. Her super type is actually pretty good, though. It gives a full board of recovery slots and locks them through block slots, reduces sphere duration by 5 turns, and then you get -2 turns of cooldown to Bonney herself as a captain. So this is good because of her special with max potential being able to reduce cooldown of your whole crew by 2 turns. So if you're dealt with special reverse, then she can kind of deal with that as a captain, because she does have the crewmate ability to resist special bind and special reverse. So this is a thing that I wish that Vegapunk had. Like, why doesn't Vegapunk have the ability in his super type to remove special bind, so that using him as a captain is way more viable? They just decided not to do that, which I think is a very weird decision, unless if like the 10th anniversary character has some kind of synergy to prevent a character from being inflicted with special bind or something. I'm not really too sure. Wouldn't really make sense. But either way, the rest of the effect is interesting. If you consume a certain amount of recovery slots, you can do defense down through immunity. Like, that's ridiculously good. And then it also will change empty block badly matching into recovery. You get a color affinity boost for cerebral beforehand. Before super evolving, this was an attack boost before, so a little bit different. And then you also get a chain lock, and the chain lock will be buffed depending on how many recovery slots you've consumed. This character just does a whole lot of things. Dealing with special bind and special reverse simultaneously, as we know, is one of the most useful combination of gimmick removals you can have. So due to that, she's already going to be good, but mainly because like the rest of her effect is like just okay, and a little bit like it's still focused around hitting recovery slots. That does kind of hurt her viability, I think. But I think at face value, she's pretty good. I think she's a really good unit you can use to clear content with. She's just got good utility. She can give you damage at the same time. But, you know, locking some of her things behind recovery slot consumption just hurts her viability a little bit in my eyes. But I think that they did a pretty good job with the Super Evolution, especially where the 6+ and the 6-star versions are slightly different. So keeping one of each is actually kind of nice to have. So that's going to be something you may want to invest in the future. So then we get to talk about the 2 brand new badge characters in Lord Bepo and Kid and Killer. So let's start off with Lord Bepo. So Lord Bepo, very interesting kind of unit. Special animation as well, kind of crazy looking. But this character being focused around Dex, Int, and Cerebral, the Captain ability does do a lot of different things. You get a little bit of cooldown, not crazy. You can overheal your HP, which is kind of cool. A ton of matching slots, end of turn healing, damage reduction. The big thing though, removing 10 turns of special reverse, so you got a bit of utility in that Captain effect as well. And then if you attack super effectively, you get a tandem slot in the next turn. That's also really cool. And then if you tap on this character with a tandem slot, you can allow your base attack boost to be further increased up to 2 times and buff it by 300. So this is a really unique effect, kind of similar to what Vegapunk did, where if you use this effect, it means that like it buffs your base attack by 300, but it still allows your base attack to be increased again. Meaning that if you've already buffed your base attack, then this just adds an additional 300 that can like stack once again. It's kind of weird that they've worded it that way, but it makes sense. The character's got a really interesting super switch. I think that like Kid and Killer and Lord Bepo have really good switch effects, like good utility of removing attack down, and then you also get an attack boost that can be overwritten. You can increase the attack boost as well, so it's basically 2.25 times attack boost with a switch. You get the 5,000 heal at the end of the turn, defense reduction by 80% that goes through full immunity for 1 turn, and then after 1 turn, inflicted again through full immunity. So being able to have defense down through immunity for 2 separate stages in a row is incredibly valuable, especially when you partner that in with their special ability, which is ideally launched when you use their super switch so that you can use it during their dual form. It gives you the defense down conditional boost for 2 turns, and they can extend it. You get base attack boost as well, but it's basically like huge base attack boost and conditional boost for 3 turns. You can carry over multiple different rooms. You can remove Despair, Recovery Bind, and Ship Bind by 7 turns. You get a healing effect, of course, which works really well with this kit. So this character is very unique in what they do. They've got a lot of gimmick removal. They've got pretty unique buffs that they're doing here, focusing around the defense down conditional boost, the base attack boosts, and being able to abuse this kind of effect with other types of really powerful buffs is interesting. And the way that this is kind of structured makes me think that, you know, the anniversary character is probably going to be solely based around, you know, attack, orb, affinity, the basic buffs, but really high multipliers. Considering this character has like such unique abilities, like being focused around base attack and conditional boost, this seems very much like a supplementary character for something else that's going to be arriving soon. That's just the vibe that I get from reading this unit. I believe this character had Super Tandem as well, right? Is it? Yeah, it is a super tandem, and the super tandem's okay. It's a tandem attack boost of 2.25 and then a 60% damage reduction. Just a very weird effect. Like, why does the tandem give you damage reduction? It just doesn't make sense, unless if there was like a damage reduction based attack boost, but that is not present here. Lord Bepo, it's hard to gauge how good this character actually is. Like, this character is fine. I don't think this character is inherently broken though. But this character does have some cool stuff going on. Like, if I had to rate it, like, I mean, Hiyori, to be honest, should be a little bit high. She should be the top of tier 1. She's so good. It's hard to rank. I'd probably put it around, like, where Blackbeard is here and Rayleigh Gaban. Like, just with really cool effects. The Captain ability to resist special reverse is obviously really nice. But then attack down removal with the switch, which you can partner with other supports and stuff to just remove attack down freely. And then the buffs of base attack and conditional boost, and especially going through full immunity. Nice touches. And the fact that they are cerebral units, which the whole focus of anniversary or leading up to this anniversary so far has been around cerebral. So it's interesting to see this character see some support with that. Also boosting Dex and Int. A lot of Int characters releasing recently. We can expect probably more Dex and Int characters to be arriving soon. I think Lord Bepo are a pretty solid legend. And then finally we have Law and Kid. Kid and Killer. This unit is a very offensively focused unit, but they also have some pretty interesting like utility focused stuff going on as well. So another very unique unit. So if you have a look at their kit, they also have a little bit of cooldown, again boosting Dex, Int, and Driven this time, not Cerebral, so a little bit different. But they get a big attack boost if they've got Tandem Bomb or Super Bomb while changing quick slots into bomb slots. So that's always a very powerful mechanic that this character has access to. So that's cool that they get access to the whole bomb slot mechanic. And if you tap on them with Tandem Bomb or Super Bomb, you get this really unique ability where you do end of turn damage for 3 turns, and the attack multiplier of these 3 slots becomes 2.5 times during that turn. That's actually for 3 turns as well. So you could actually abuse this type of mechanic where if the enemy has an effect that can like make certain slots have a lowered multiplier, before entering that stage, if you just tap with a tandem bomb or super bomb, being able to get this for 3 turns to just ignore that is so good. So there's some really unique mechanics behind this, but that's like the utility part of their captain, where if you compare that to Law and Bepo, they have the ability to remove special bind, or special reverse, should I say. So I think that that is a little bit more valuable than what this is. This is a bit more niche, but again, the fact that they changed the multiplier of these slots adds a lot of offensive value to this unit. Now, the character's switch effect a little bit different, but a lot of the time similar as well. Removing Threshold this time in this switch effect is nice, and granting an orb boost to Int, Dex, and Driven that can be overwritten. It's a 2.25 orb boost, that is. And then it also will change slots to bomb slots through block. And then bomb and super bomb slots have matching slot effects for 1 turn, so using them as a sub is pretty cool, but they also do that with their switch effect, so it's kind of whatever. And then you get a resistance down effect as well for 3 turns. They get the fusion for 3 turns. And then their special ability, it does a lot of stuff, but it does do damage that can go through base defense, which not a lot of characters get access to. You also get the special charge time reduction for 2 turns, so that's really cool, just dealing with that. And then also removing Rainbow Shield by 7 turns. And then if you have color affinity, you get tap timing chain bonus. They also do chain boundary, and they also provide the color affinity boost. So if you're able to provide like another form of color affinity, then you can get the tap timing chain boost as well. So that's a little bit of a weird, wonky way of using the character, but as you can see, like the buffs that Law and Bepo and Kid and Killer provide, they're not your typical damage focused buffs. Like these are ones that are focusing around, like this one grants affinity, chain, and the chain buffs. Law Bepo was base attack and conditional boost, so you're kind of missing like the big normal ones that you'd be thinking about, like attack and all boost. The characters do provide that with their switch effect though, but it can be overwritten. So we'll see how this plays into release characters in the future. But again, this is a really weird release. I don't know how good this character is going to be because the character just released, so it is a little bit difficult to kind of rank them compared to a lot of other units. But this character doesn't have like a crazy amount of utility. It's okay. I mean, you've got the Rainbow Shield removal with their special, you have the switch effect to remove Threshold, and technically they get around resilience if you tap on them with a tandem bomb or super bomb slot, so that is kind of cool as well. But other than that, they're just kind of focused around just unga bunga damage. So I think that this character is very similar to Law and Bepo in a way, but I think they're a little bit weaker than Law Bepo because I think that the utility and the effects of Law Bepo, in my opinion, are a little better. So for those reasons, I kind of want to put this character a little bit lower. So I think if we're looking at the rest of this list, it's probably around here-ish. Maybe Sabo Ace is a little bit more powerful. Luffy's captain ability is really strong. I think I'd probably leave it around here. It's still a very solid ranking in tier 1. But I mean, if we look at the top here, I'm going to go to the top 5 as well. I think Uta moves up a little bit as well because of the recent release of the whole cerebral stuff. That's definitely added a lot of value to Uta, both the 6-star plus the quick form and the base form 6-star of Uta. Those 2 units are amazing. The driven form, the Top Musica character, doesn't really see a hell of a lot of play, which is a shame. The character is just really weirdly designed. But I mean, as for the top 5 best characters in the game, I still think, yeah, Zoro and Sanji are probably the best unit in the game. They can just be used for everything. Great utility, great damage, they just do so much. And then you got like Gear 5 Luffy being 6-star and 6-star plus. Just phenomenal, still good in basically everything. Intimidate really hurts his character though. That's one thing that I will say, is that the Intimidate debuff, or the Intimidate buff on the opponent, inflicting it against you, really hurts a lot of these really powerful legends that have these like massive buffs for like 1 turn, where Intimidate can either reduce their multipliers significantly or just remove the amount of turns of those buffs. So as we move forward into the future, I feel like characters that are able to provide buffs for multiple turns, or characters that can have abilities to extend the duration of buffs, are going to be that much more valuable moving forward. So we'll see if that plays into anything moving forward into the 10th anniversary period. But that's pretty much all I have to say for you guys in this video. As I said, the 10th anniversary is coming up very, very shortly. I'm very excited to break down all of these characters for you guys when they come up. And of course, the tier list is going to be changed completely as we move forward into the anniversary period. And I just can't wait to see what they have in store for us. And 10th anniversary is not far away, guys. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. And if you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.